Welcome back, Nerd Squad, to Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to help us reach our goal of 700,000 subscribers. Plus, leave us a comment down below with which superheroes you could see as a villain. Now let's get into today's list of the top 10 times Wonder Woman was a villain. Number 10, Flashpoint. Known now as one of the more famous additions to the DC universe, the Flashpoint canon happened when Barry Allen decided to go back in time to save his mother. This created a ripple in time that gave way to one of the scariest versions of Wonder Woman ever. Her origin in the Flashpoint universe isn't that different from the main universe, although we see a difference when Wonder Woman meets Aquaman for the first time. When the two join forces, they engage in a forbidden romance that ultimately leads to Wonder Woman killing Aquaman's wife. This marks her first major kill of an innocent character. Number 9, Darkseid's Servant. During the events of Final Crisis, Wonder Woman becomes controlled by a virus called Mordecacus. Darkseid uses this virus to build a new army of DC heroes and promoted Wonder Woman as the leader of said army. Flanked by Giganta, Catwoman, and Batwoman, they become loyal servants of Darkseid and began infecting others with the virus, and stripping them of their powers in the process. Number 8, a Lex Luthor agent. Written by Frank Miller, you can tell that he had a very specific view of Wonder Woman, and it's not a likable one at that. This version of Wonder Woman was very violent and hated all men, and even implies that she'd like to see all men in chains. Miller's Wonder Woman exists on Earth 31, also known as the Dark Knight Returns universe. In the event of the Dark Knight Strikes Again, she was drafted by none other than Lex Luthor. She joined his team as an agent very reluctantly because of the whole hating all men thing I mentioned before. She loves violence though, so agrees to help him put together a regime that Lex creates on Earth. Miller's Wonder Woman is a bit of a loose cannon. She's killed without remorse and regularly flies off the handle from the slightest provoking. In at number 7, Abandonment. It's a known fact that Wonder Woman 2 will be set in the 1980s, which will hopefully clear up as to why she abandoned the DCEU in Batman vs Superman. According to Batman and Justice League, Wonder Woman had stepped away from humanity for close to a century and sat back while people like Lex Luthor caused global problems. Now, one could argue that her doing nothing doesn't mean that she's a villain, but if you consider the timeline of events, Wonder Woman sat on the sidelines from World War I to 2013. That means she did nothing as things like the Holocaust went on. Either way, in all of the terrible events that happened during her sabbatical, having a demigod protecting the Earth would have really come in handy. Number 6, Dark Knights. The story of Dark Knight's Metal is perhaps one of the weirdest DC stories out there. It features alternate versions of the Justice League from the Dark Universe, and as you would expect, they're not the kindest nor most reasonable characters to deal with. It takes a while for the Dark Wonder Woman to appear, but man, when she does, it's a terrifying sight to behold. Two versions specifically are heavily featured, one of which looks a lot like Diana with some inspiration from Star Sapphire, and the other appears to be a mix of Wonder Woman and Cheetah. That version is equally vicious and violent as both of those characters can be. Number 5, Weapon of Mass Destruction. During the events of Red Sun, the DC Universe explored what it would be like if Superman fell into Soviet Russia instead of Kansas. He becomes slowly corrupted by the Soviet propaganda machine, and as a result, nothing noble remains. An alternate version of Wonder Woman is also introduced into this universe, but she becomes treated as just a weapon. After this happens to her repeatedly, she's left with very little of her morality. When she sacrifices some of her powers for Soviet Superman, her affection towards him turns quickly into hatred. As a result, she becomes filled with vengeance, and after taking control of the Amazons, teams up with the President of the United States and Lex Luthor. In at number 4, Heart of Darkness. As you can tell by now, Wonder Woman has been mind controlled a fair amount of times, causing her to perhaps do things against her will. In the Justice League cartoon, the team comes across a purple gemstone. They soon discover that it's an ancient artifact known as the Heart of Darkness. It's controlled by a race of snake-like creatures that possess anyone that comes into contact with it. Wonder Woman unfortunately falls under its control and becomes a terrifying version of herself. Number 3, Nazi Justice League. Many superheroes got their start during the World War II era, and as a result, a lot of comic book writers began creating Nazi versions of famous superheroes. You had Captain America working with Hydra, the Arrowverse with their Earth X, and even Wonder Woman wasn't able to escape this. Being rebranded as the JL Axis in the 52 event, these Nazi Justice League heroes were created by Adolf Hitler after he won World War II and became his agents of destruction. Wonder Woman's character was named Brunhilde and was a product of Norse gods and instead of her original Greek mythology roots. Eventually, she joined the Monarch army and became a giant threat to the entire DC multiverse. In at number 2, Dead Lantern Party. The comic book of Blackest Night saw the introduction of the Black Lanterns. They are by far the darkest of the Rainbow Corps and are essentially DC's versions of creating zombies. In the comic book run, we saw nearly every hero that had died come back to life and transform into a Black Lantern as a result. When Black Lantern Wonder Woman came back, Diana causes a ton of destruction. Her terrorizing was mostly contained by the undead heroes unaffected by the Black Lantern's powers, and Aquaman's wife Mara was at the forefront of this. She even resorted to stabbing Wonder Woman in the chest with Aquaman's trident. It kinda hurts me even just saying that. Although she put up a decent fight, Mara was no match for Black Lantern Wonder Woman. The only thing that could stop this dark Wonder Woman was the intervention from the rest of the Rainbow Corps. Lastly, on our number 1 spot, oh snap. The most egregious act committed by Wonder Woman occurred in the build-up to the event in Infinite Crisis that subsequently destroyed her relationship with both Superman and Batman. For years, Maxwell Lord was the main opponent for the Justice League as he tried to make himself the ultimate authority on Earth. Lord even discovered a way to control the mind of Superman, making him his own personal bodyguard, and well, with the powers of Superman, he was basically a one-man army. In the mind of Wonder Woman, she firmly believed that the only way to stop this mind control was to stop the problem at its source. So, on national television, she snapped Maxwell Lord's neck. This absolutely horrified the nation, Superman, and Batman. And that has been the top 10 times Wonder Woman was a villain. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe before you leave, plus comment down below with your thoughts on this list. And for more videos like this one, all you gotta do is click that playlist on your screen. From Top 10 Nerd, I'm Johnny Rogers, and until next time, take care.